So here we have a scenario where we've got a particular task that needs to be done. There's three people that are involved in the workflow. There's someone that does it, a first reviewer, and a second reviewer. And we've pulled down all tasks that are not completed. So they're either with the preparer, with the first reviewer, or with the second reviewer. So I want to know who is the responsible party currently. Whose queue is this sitting in? I'll show two ways to do that using those two formulas that I mentioned. If you wanted to do an if statement, you say equals if, and then it'll ask for a test, a value if that test is met, and then a value if that test is not met. So we'll say, okay, if the status out here equals with prepare, and we'll put the with prepare in quotes since that's a text value. With the prepare, then give me the person in the prepare field. Now, if that's not there, I don't know if it's with reviewer one or reviewer two, so I can't tell it to give me Jane or Tom. So what I have to do is something called a nested if. So I can put another if statement in that value of false. I can say, okay, if the status equals with reviewer one, then give me Jane. And now you could say, hey, it must go to Tom now. Let's say maybe at some point we're going to add a reviewer three or something changes. So I don't like to have it default to a valid answer and put it here to Tom because that's going to say any status that isn't with repair or isn't with reviewer two or one will automatically default to reviewer. I do another nested if. So I say if status equals with reviewer two, then give me Tom. And now in this final value of false, that must mean it's in some unknown status. And I need to, basically evaluate the status and modify the if statement. So I'll just say check status in nested if statement, and that'll be my alert to realize that there's a new status that I hadn't expected. So I'll close the parentheses once, that'll close the third if statement. I'll close it a second time to close the second if statement, then I'll close it a third time to close the first if statement. So I'll hit enter. It looks good. It's with prepare, Mike's the prepare. Drag that down. Check one here. It's with reviewer two, and reviewer two is Jeremy. So this formula is working well. And then just hypothetically, if we're to go to reviewer three, I wouldn't want that to tell me that it's with Jeremy. I would say, hey, check the status of the nested if statement because that's not something that I expected to see there. So put that back to reviewer two. It works. It's just a pretty long, and if someone's not familiar with Excel, they probably aren't going to understand that formula all too well. So this IFS statement is a nice statement. So that it's a simpler logic here. It's got you put in a test at the beginning, just like you did in the if, and then all you'll return is what do you want Excel to show if that test is met. And you can put as many in as you want, and you'll only ever have to close that parentheses once. So to see it in action, we can again say, hey, go to the status. If it equals with prepare, then give me the prepare. If not, we want a logical test number two. We'll write in, say, does B2 equal with reviewer one. If it does, give me reviewer one. Now let's go into our third test. So does B2 equal with reviewer two? If it does, great. Give me reviewer two, and you don't have to be worried about a default logic here, and I'll show you why. So I'll just close the parentheses. There's only one argument here. Simpler statement for sure. We'll paste this all the way down. And then we can say with backup prepare. So that's good. It's, alerting me here because I put in that extra bit of logic here, but this works too. I don't have to worry about it. It just says, hey, there's something that you didn't basically program into this formula. You know, you need to take a look at that. So I like the ifs, IFS statement quite a bit so that I don't have to nest all these if statements and use a whole bunch of parentheses. I hope that helps.